top 100 movies. Massey's main entertainment.
Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment, and we're finally here, finally into the top 10 of our top 100 favorite movies of all time. Been a long journey, and I've been looking forward to this moment to find out exactly what broke into the top 10 of all these gentlemen. I'm joined tonight by the regulars of our series, Doc. How's it going tonight, Doc?
It's all good. It's all good, buddy.
All Bill Murray's in the top 10, Doc. You know the rules,
10
man.
Bill Murray movies.
Got to be Murray's. Rich Strickler.
Howdy.
Rich, who kept tabulations on what he thought each one of our top 10 was. For some reason, he said he only could get 6 of mine. That's probably a good idea because mine got some curveballs. And Randy Nelson, which nobody's, I mean, Rich, I don't know. There's no way you got Randy's 10. I mean, you might get, kind of close, but.
I think I will.
Yeah. But Randy Nelson's here. So, guys, I just want to say real quick, something I kind of talked with Doc a little bit earlier today, but I think it'd be a good idea to touch on. I was thinking about, was there one movie now that we're all done and we're getting ready to do this where we sat back and you went, oh my God, I can't believe this movie. I forgot all about this movie to get it into my top 100. And then it was just like, by this point, you're by the top 20, I'm sitting there going, well, I can't just throw it in the top 20 just because I forgot it. For me, I gotta tell you, I did have one, and it was Aliens. It was a sequel to Alien that I thought was like one of my favorite movies, but I was like, I just couldn't find a way to get it in after I had forgotten about it. So, do you guys have any problems like that at all?
Yeah. I don't know if you want me to say now or wait till I do the list and then do it at the end, or
I mean, you could wait if you want,
Yeah, I think I'll wait. I'll do my list and then I'll harp on what I actually
then tell us what you forgot. Yeah.
Sure.
You guys run to that, Rich?
No, I didn't forget any, but I had 2 that I really thought were worthy of being in the top 100, but they're not favorites. I think they're great films. I'm going to name them. They're both appeared on your guys' list. That's The Exorcist and Psycho. I don't return to those films because they scare the you-know-what out of me, but they belong on any top 100 list. They just are not 100 of my favorites. That's all.
Right. Randy?
Yeah, I'm with him on The Exorcist. I did put Psycho on, but The Exorcist, I don't know if I want to see that, especially at night.
No.
But anyway, we're gonna start tonight. Doc, you went last time, so you have to go first. Randy will follow you up. Rich, you get to go third. I get to back cleanup in our final video of this series. Please sort of like, sub, and comment down below. And I am definitely curious of everyone's top 10 who's been following the series. I want to know what you guys have picked because I want to see just how well it compares to all the rest of us. So without further ado, Doc, you've got the con.
We say every time, these are our favorites. These are not the best movies of all time. Some of them might be. You'll see how it goes here. But placement is one thing. But these are my favorite movies. They've been with me my whole life, and that's what my list is. And I've stuck true to it now, and I'm not changing. So it's just these are the movies that are part of me. So starting off, number 10, 1978, John Carpenter's The Halloween Man. I got Halloween at number 10. It's really my first real scary movie that I had growing up as a kid. I saw a bit of Friday the 13th Part 2 and Exorcist later on. But Halloween's been with me. I'm a 69 child here, man. So this is, mom and dad didn't care what you watched it, 1978, 1979, 1980. So Halloween's great, man. Just the story of Michael Myers, the guy that's come back to Haddonfield, Illinois for revenge 15 years after a murder in his family. He escapes from the psych ward, gives Jamie Lee Curtis a big break. This is Carpenter doing Carpenter stuff, man. His own score. It's really suspenseful. Still holds up. I watch it all the time, man. I can watch Halloween anytime. All these movies here are watchable at any time for me. And Halloween's number 10. Number 9, Brian, I got you covered, buddy. I got Aliens. What do you want?
Nice.
Yep.
Doc with the save.
The kick save and a beauty, I'd say, here at this stage. These are my favorites, man. I love Alien. Alien was in my last list. I like Aliens just a little bit more. I love the army aspect of it, the suspense and everything that Alien brings you in the first one. This one just has a different feel for it, a different tone. The script is somewhat hilarious and somewhat awesome all at the same time. It's fast paced, it's moving. Cameron takes Alien to a different level, I think, in the Aliens, and I just have a soft spot for this whole movie. The whole cast is great, you know, from Paxton to Sigourney Weaver reprising her role as Ripley, and Michael Biehn again showing up here as the captain's trying to get him out there, and scumbag, and Michael Reisner being the real scumbag in this movie. So, Aliens is number 9. One of the movies that started for me all, man, 1977. I got to go to Star Wars, number 8. Space Western movie, man. What do you want? Lucas nailed something on the head, and he got me at the right age for it. So it's been with me my whole life. This is one of the things that I love. You know, the introduction of Luke and Han and Princess Leia and R2-D2, C-3PO, all the major characters, and maybe the greatest villain of all time, or one of the greatest villains of all time, and Darth Vader. This is classic, man. This is exactly what good versus evil out in space, sci-fi flick. Right in my wheelhouse, man. Came at the right time and took me on that adventure for my whole life. Star Wars is number 8. Real shocker for this one for all of you guys, especially for Rich and Brian, who know me so well. Number 7 is Rocky. Obviously, it's one of my favorite movies. What do you want to hear? Still, I call it Stallone's masterpiece. I'm happy he stuck to his guns, I've mentioned before, but keeping the script and being the lead worked out fantastic, and it showed he's got the chops to do it. And he figured that out in Rocky 2 that I mentioned previously on my list, also in my top 100. But this is the beginning of the story. Like I've always said, and we've talked about it, and we all have, I think, somewhat similar opinions. Rocky is a love story built around a boxing movie, and that's what it is. The cast is great. Talia Shire, Burgess Meredith, and Stallone. Stallone's great in this movie, man. Send him on his way, give him a great career. Not that he does a whole bunch of great things later on in life. Some yes, some no, but Rocky is the peak for me and Stallone. Number 6, I got The Godfather Part 2. Coppola just tagging on exactly what it was from number 1, from Godfather, to be honest with you. The arc in this story, the way this is shot, cinematography, the story behind it, the backstory about, you know, the Godfather and growing up, and De Niro making an appearance here and playing the character. And The Godfather Part 2 is, we've talked about this before. At some points, I thought this was better than Part 1, you know, but until probably the last couple of years, I maybe did a little flip flop, so maybe a little foreshadowing. But whatever the case, Godfather Part 2. I'm hoping you've seen these movies if you haven't in YouTube land, because if you haven't, then you should. But you know, Godfather Part 2 is a classic, man. Number 5, I guess sometimes I like sequels better than originals. You see that with Aliens, and you're going to see it again with Empire Strikes Back in 1980. Yeah. I think it just takes it to another level from Star Wars. The introduction piece from Star Wars is awesome. Like I mentioned with Aliens, I love the intro and everything else. These are classic movies. But the Empire, just a whole new level, man, where Vader really shows his presence, and you really find out what's going on in the good and bad and the evil in space, and the sets and everything else that go with it, man. High-end movie making for 1980 in the space movie, man. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. And Lucas pulls back a little. This is Kasdan who does this, right? So it's like it's some slouch. It's Lawrence Kasdan that's directing this. So that's my number 5. Number 4, I guess I'll go to the original, man. 1972. I've got The Godfather. I said this before too. I wish Brandon was in it more. I can only say that. I think he's absolutely fantastic. The acting in these movies, Godfather 1 and 2, ensemble cast to die for, man. This is like top-notch acting, you know, from Khan to Duvall, and obviously Pacino and Brando. You can go on forever, you know, Talia Shire. The cast is great. The sets are awesome. The direction, cinematography in this, the way it's directed. Coppola's a genius, man. And this is yeah, it's considered one of the best movies, if not the best movie of all time. It's also one of my favorites, so it's there. And some are watches, some are rewatches, some are what I want to watch. The Godfather, if it's on, I'm just watching it. That's just the way it is. All these are. I guess I just like this mob movie just a tad better from 1990. I like Goodfellas, man. I think I just like it a little bit more for the pace, if you want the truth. It just moves a little bit more to my liking, is what I would put it at. Like I said, The Godfather, these are masterpieces, man. Goodfellas just moves to just a little faster for me in one sense, but these are classics, man. And and whoever starts off saying, ever since I remember, I wanted to be a mobster, I don't know. This is Ray Liotta, De Niro. Fantastic, man. Scorsese's masterpiece. I can't put it any different, man. This is obviously, it's one of my favorite movies, man. So only two beat it, in my opinion, for me. That'll be Jaws at number 2, 1975, Spielberg's. And Jaws, you can just watch Jaws at any time, man. Robert Shaw, I love, and there's no getting around it. And I guess I like Richard Dreyfuss a tad more than Brian does, if he's this man. But, anyway, this is, it's almost perfect. The movie's almost perfect, man. It really is perfect. It's a perfect movie. These are all, in some senses, perfect movies. But Jaws is really just, you don't look away from any of these movies, man. And I don't look away from Jaws. Jaws is peak movie making to me, man. What are the chances of Spielberg back to back, eh? Pretty high. My number one, my favorite movie, man, I can watch it anytime, is the best adventure movie of all time, man. It's Raiders. To me. It's a favorites list. It's not the best of list. My favorite movie, man. Raiders is the best movie to me. It's got everything. Adventure, humor, sets, action, great characters, iconic characters. They grow with you. I'm sticking with it, man. Raiders is the best movie to me, man. It's my favorite.
Nice.
There you go.
Those are really none of them are a surprise to me. It does surprise me, like maybe that some of them were so high. Like Halloween, I thought this high. I thought it was a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
I actually like Carpenter's equally as well as I like actually Rob Zombie's version of it. I thought Rob Zombie actually did a pretty decent version.
Not bad. Zombie did okay, sure.
It wasn't bad at all.
Nope.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but I'm happy to see Empire in there, of course.
Yeah.
That's a big fave there. Good.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
I did pretty well, Doc. I had 8 of your 10.
See, now if I tell you the one that I forgot, that'll be one of your 9.
Go ahead.
Back to the Future.
Nope, that wasn't one of my 9.
That's one of the. So there you go. That's the one I kind of wish was in my top 100.
I had the 8 through 1. I did not have numbers 9 and 10. In place of those, I had Unforgiven and Apocalypse Now. I thought they would be in there for you.
I think I had Unforgiven earlier.
If you did, I missed it.
Yeah.
But no, Apocalypse Now. No, it did not make my top 100.
Okay.
I had 6 of yours.
Did you?
Right. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Randy, you're up next, buddy.
All right. It's for the surprises now.
Yeah.
How many silent films do I have in my top 10?
Go ahead.
Prince and Birth of a Nation. Let's just start out with To a New World of Gods and Monsters toasts character actor Ernst Thesiger to Baron Henry Frankenstein. Yes, I'm picking Bride of Frankenstein, directed by James Whale from 1935. I love the Universal horror movies, and I think this is the best one. It's the most fun one, I think. It has the great sets, that mysterious atmosphere, and kind of a satirical emphasis where it creates some very funny moments, but doesn't overwhelm the pathos of the story. I love the beginning with Elsa Lanchester as author Mary Shelley telling the story. And then later, you'll have to see the movie. She appears in the movie a little later, too. That's my number 10. My number 9 from 1962, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, directed by John Ford. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend, says the newspaper reporter after James Stewart as Ransom Stoddard tells this true story about who shot Liberty Valance. Lee Marvin is fantastic as the villain, Liberty Valance. And John Wayne is great as Tom Donovan, who gets involved in the conflict between Stewart and Marvin, with Stewart's attempts to bring order to the lawless frontier town. It's my favorite Western, and this, along with The Searchers, shows Ford's magnificence, I think. Number 8 from 1938. It's Bringing Up Baby, directed by Howard Hawks. If you asked me to pick the funniest movie of all time, I would probably pick this one. Or if you asked me what a screwball comedy is, I would present this as example 1. Cary Grant is a master with these types of films, and Katharine Hepburn is amazing as the kooky heiress that gets paleontologist Grant in all kinds of absurd situations. The one-liners come fast and furiously, and the character actors such as Charles Ruggles, Fritz Feld, and Walter Catlett keep the hilarity moving. I don't think you'll find a better introduction to 30s movies than this one. All right. Number 7, from 1954, I have Rear Window, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I think that this movie has been on a couple people's lists, maybe everyone, I'm not sure. But Stewart has this broken leg, and he kind of becomes a voyeur of his apartment complex, just as the audience in some ways. And he starts to believe that one of the tenants has murdered his wife. Grace Kelly has never looked more stylish and beautiful. And Thelma Ritter has some of the most gruesome but hilarious asides. It's a perfectly constructed film with some great thrills and edge-of-your-seat storytelling, I think. One of Hitchcock's best. I bet there might be another one that I like more. We'll see. Number 6 from 1972. This is where I have The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I had a feeling that several would have it at number 1, and Doc kind of shocked me on that. But I think this film's great. There's just a few others that I enjoy more. What I always thought was amazing, though, is how the main characters are all introduced at the wedding. It's kind of like filmmaking at its finest. It kind of sets up the intricately constructed story. But there's so many images and scenes that become locked in your consciousness with this movie. And even with all the characters, it all revolves around the Corleone family, a family you become invested in, even though they're mobsters. But it's a masterpiece.
True.
All right. My number 5 from 1947. It's Out of the Past, directed by Jacques Tourneur. I am one of the biggest film noir fans, and I think this is the best of the best. Robert Mitchum is the perfect film noir protagonist, and Jane Greer is the perfect femme fatale. Mitchum tries to escape his past, but in true noir fashion, it catches up with him. It also looks great as Tourneur works with the master of shadow and light cinematographer, Nicholas Musaraca. Got if I can get his name right. And of course, there's some great noir dialogue, especially from the laconic Mitchum. I don't think noirs get any better than this one. Right, my number 4 from 1942. It's Casablanca, directed by Michael Curtiz. This is the perfect amalgamation of star power with Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, script, and economical shots. It's all shot on studio sets, but it never drags. And it's so easy to become invested in the story. Speaking of the screenplay, this is probably the most quoted movie of all time, maybe, with Bogart trying to convince himself and others that he is no hero with some extreme sarcasm thrown in. It's got Peter Lorre, Sidney Greenstreet, Claude Rains, and of course, Dooley Wilson being asked to play a certain song. A true classic. Maybe Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind might be the only other films better known from the classic period than this one. Number 3 I think Rich may have had this one already, but from 1949, The Third Man, directed by Carol Reed. This is such a favorite that when I was in Vienna, Austria, I had to go to Prater, which is the amusement park there. And that there's a thing they call the Big Wheel, which is the Ferris wheel there. And that's where Orson Welles has his famous cuckoo clock speech in the Ferris wheel car. And also, for James Bond fans, Timothy Dalton, I can't remember which movie it is, but they also have a scene there as well. But it's another great thing about the movie is the buildup for Wells' character, Harry Lime, and we are not disappointed when he's finally introduced. The Norrish world in which Harry Lime operates, the scene at the wheel, the chase through the sewers, and the mysterious zither music all contribute to me to an all-time classic. Roger Ebert even said that this movie embodies the romance of going to the movies like none other. So that's kind of paraphrasing what he said. That's something similar to that. All right, my number 2, 1959. Yes, I have Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest here. It's hard to have more fun at the movies than North by Northwest. This is some of Hitchcock's best one-liners, his ability to see suspense in the most unique places, like out in the middle of nowhere, where the crop dusting scene happens, or on top of Mount Rushmore. It also has the duplicity of trust and the funniest art auction that you'll ever see.
That's right.
True.
Cary Grant was born for this role as ad executive Roger Thornhill, and his charm knows no ends. It has everything that's great about a Hitchcock picture, and it's all rolled up into one. That's my number 2. And number 1, I think Rich may know this one already, but from 1952, it's The Quiet Man, directed by John Ford. This has been my favorite picture forever, and another one in which I was able to visit the location where it was shot, which when I was in Ireland, I went to Cong, which is kind of where they shot it around there in Ashford Castle. But it's on every St. Patrick's Day, and the story of John Wayne as Sean Thornton returning to Ireland after years in America. It makes us fall in love with Ireland as well. The romance with Maureen O'Hara, maybe the most humorous fight in cinema history with Wayne and Victor McLaughlin. I mean, they even have to have an intermission because the fight goes on so well. It's got the beautiful scenery, an array of great character actors as well. Make this film one not to be missed. For me, there's none better, and that's The Quiet Man.
Wow. Hey, I'm really happy about North by Northwest, as you can imagine.
Oh, I know you are, buddy.
I got 5. I picked 5 of his. I think that's pretty good, Randy.
Yeah.
I think Bringing Up Baby and Out of the Past, I had no clue. There's
no
about that.
I had 7 out of the 10.
Wow.
The ones I missed on were Bride of Frankenstein, Liberty Valance, and Bringing Up Baby, although I considered Bringing Up Baby. The ones that I thought he would have that he didn't were To Kill a Mockingbird, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and The Philadelphia Story. I thought they would sneak in, but didn't cut the mustard.
Yeah.
And I remember Randy saying before that he loved The Quiet Man, so I definitely had that one.
I'd say, Randy, if I had one more that I said, if I missed off my list of 100, was Back to the Future. I'd say if there's one other one that I did miss that I should have had on my list, it would have been Casablanca.
Yeah. That's honorable mention for me for sure.
Yeah.
So, Rich, what do you think, buddy?
Mine are very predictable. I guess you guys can read me like a book. Number 10. I'm going to go with an oldie. It's a Wonderful Life. I put it number 10. Frank Capra's classic.
Yep. 1946
with Jimmy Stewart. Just timeless classic. It's on every Christmas. So life affirming. It's a magical movie with a meaningful message. Perfectly cast Stewart is as a man who's going through hard times, wishes he was dead, and then the angel comes down and shows him what life would have been like had he never existed. It's just a beautiful film. One of the great feel-good movies of all time for me. Number 10. It's a Wonderful Life. Number 9. The Shawshank Redemption from 1994. This squeaked into the top 10, mainly because I watch it every single time I see it on cable. It's one of the movies that draws you in. I like the friendship aspect between Tim Robbins' character and Morgan Freeman's character. Just it's more than a great prison movie. It's got a lot of heart, story about friendship and hope, triumph, redemption, which is in the title, adapted, of course, from the Stephen King novella. Just seamless performances. Even the lesser characters pull it off wonderfully. A great performance by Bob Gunton as the prison warden, and James Whitmore is the old wily veteran who's been he's a lifer in prison. There's just not enough superlatives for me for the Shawshank Redemption. I love it that much, but I got 8 in front of it. Number 8, The Deer Hunter from 1978. This was one of my most memorable movie watching experiences on the big screen when it came out in 78. 3 Western Pennsylvania friends, steel mill workers, preparing to go off and fight in the Vietnam War. 3 friends played by Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, and John Savage. Takes you inside their lives, the drinking at the bar after work, the ball busting and hijinks between friends, needling each other, teasing each other, all that stuff that makes you care about the characters before they actually go off to Nam. The deer hunting scenes themselves, the epic 51-minute wedding, which just takes up basically a third of the movie, it seems like. And then the Vietnam horrors that they endure over there with the Russian roulette and the physical and psychological damage that it leaves on them. It's powerful, unforgettable, devastating, and draining to watch, but it's so well done. I can't leave it out of my top 10. Supporting cast, John Cazale and Meryl Streep, directed by Michael Cimino. Number 7. This has appeared several times as well. Fargo from 1996, directed by the Coen brothers. Just an eccentric, entertaining, dark comedy / crime thriller mashup, whatever. It's hard to define, but it has all the elements in it. I love the characters that they've created here. Frances McDormand as the pregnant sheriff, and William H. Macy as this double-talking car salesman, and you got the crooks, Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare, who are just like Mutt and Jeff. They're just classics, man. The dialogue, the language that goes with this, the inept criminals screwing up one thing after another until they bungle it, so Frances McDormand has to put these pieces of the puzzle together, and it's an easy top 10 for me. Fargo from the Coen brothers. Number 6, I've got Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino's 1994 masterpiece, really. It's widely regarded as his best film, and I would agree it is. May not be my favorite of his, hint, hint, but I think it's his best film. This is a crime film loaded with colorful characters, again, which I liked. I like the screenwriting, the dialogue. It's the granddaddy of all non-linear storytelling, influential, inventive, it's original. The dialogue, you got hitmen and aspiring actresses and crime bosses, boxers, drug dealers, fixers, all woven into this screenplay. Catchphrases. One of my favorites is, "I'm going to get medieval on your ass," that kind of shit. I mean, just stuff you can't make up. You have to have a clever mind to come up with this script. My favorite character is one of the supporting characters, played by Eric Stoltz as the drug dealer. Just sitting around in his bathrobe all day and chilling. But it adds a lot of color to the story. My number 5 is the other Tarantino film that I prefer just a little bit more, and that's his debut, Reservoir Dogs from 1992. Low budget, independent, like cult classic at the time. A jewelry heist gone wrong. Then they suspect a rat among the crooks. You got Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, again Steve Buscemi, Michael Madsen in the cast, Chris Penn, and Lawrence Tierney as the ringleader here. Most of the movie takes place in an abandoned warehouse. Again, it's dialogue-driven storytelling, stylized direction, killer soundtrack, as did Pulp Fiction. Tarantino knows how to put pop culture references and music into his films, and it really adds a lot of pizzazz to it. And such realism in the violence, too. I know it's bloody, but these are crimes that are, very realistically portrayed, and it shows. Number 4, I've got the other Coen brothers movie here, No Country for Old Men, which is my favorite of theirs. Neo-Western crime thriller, in Texas. A man stumbles upon a large sum of money and a drug deal gone bad. That's Josh Brolin in the middle of nowhere. And eventually he's got this hitman, Javier Bardem, who's sent to recover the money. They have a lot of different cat and mouse showdowns. Tommy Lee Jones is the local sheriff investigating the crime. Extremely violent. The subtle humor, that Texas humor with the one-liners, especially by Tommy Lee Jones. He has some great lines in there that on repeated watches, you really pick up the stuff. Very insightful about being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Javier Bardem is menacing. There's no soundtrack. The action moves along at it's a slow burn. It picks up as you go along. It's about fate and circumstance and understanding the world around us, or not even understanding it. I mean, that's where the title comes from. No Country for Old Men. It's like, I can't believe the world we're living in today. Woody Harrelson is also very good as the bounty hunter, and Kelly MacDonald as Josh Brolin's wife or girlfriend, whatever the case may be. Number 3 used to be my favorite film, but I had to nudge it down a little bit. And that's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest from 1975. It doesn't mean I don't love it, but I have 2 films ahead of it, directed by Milos Forman and starring Jack Nicholson in an Oscar-winning performance here as Randall McMurphy, an anti-establishment free spirit who just bends the rules. He's accused of and imprisoned for statutory rape. He's sent to the state mental hospital to determine whether he is truly insane or he's faking being crazy to get out of prison. He matches wits here with Nurse Ratched, played by Louise Fletcher, who also won the Oscar. Real nasty personal battles between the two of them. I love the camaraderie that Nicholson develops with the other patients in the mental institution here. A lot of heart and soul in the picture. Wonderful scene of the World Series on TV when they're not allowed to watch it, and Jack recreates it, broadcasting it, gets everybody to bond there. They escape and have a fishing trip to play basketball versus the guards. There's the group therapy sessions which are outstanding. Just too many to talk about. And the bottom line is, what's the fine line between being insane and sane? It's a tightrope, and Jack Nicholson walks it perfectly. Number 3, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Number 2, The Godfather Part 2 from 1974, Francis Ford Coppola's absolute best sequel ever made. The flashback sequences that Doc talked about, they tell the backstory of the young Vito Corleone, his life over in Italy before he comes over on a boat at, I think, 9 or 10 years old. He's very small. Just an amazing cast, first-rate storytelling. Al Pacino, of course, is here as Michael Corleone, taking over from his dad in this film. You got Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, Lee Strasberg is wonderful as Hyman Roth, Robert De Niro as the Vito Corleone in Italy. You see how he made his way to the top of the rung, so to speak. He started out as nobody and eventually gained respect and power and brought that over to the United States. But again, perfect filmmaking, cinematography, editing, set decoration, score, A+ all the way around. I love the scene between Michael and Kay with their marriage falling apart. It's just tough to watch, brutal. Fredo's betrayal's in here, which is unbelievable. You got the scenes in Tahoe, the scenes in Cuba, just so much memorable stuff. And I love the arc of Al Pacino's character from Michael Corleone in the first Godfather film to now, where he's the man and he's taken all the pressure and responsibility, and it's weighing on him heavily. My first pick is, of course, The Godfather, the best film in my eyes ever put on screen, the pinnacle of filmmaking. A lot of the same cast, except Marlon Brando, as Doc mentioned, as Vito Corleone. I wish he was on the screen longer. James Caan is Sonny, of course. I don't want to leave out Talia Shire. She's an integral part of this, with getting abused by her husband, which sets off a whole chain of events. The wedding scene that you guys referred to in the beginning, where all the characters are introduced, primary and secondary characters. It pulls you into the story. makes you care about these characters. And then it's up to Coppola to lay out the direction and where the story goes from there. And just a hint of some of the memorable scenes. You have the great cannoli scene, the Luca Brasi sleep with the fishes, the garden with Brando and his grandson and the tomatoes and stuff like that. The toll booth scene. There we go. Sorry about that. James Caan beating the daylights out of Talia Shire's husband with the trash cans and the horse head in the bed. The Italian restaurant scene, which is pivotal in the movie. The baptism with all the 5 families getting whacked and Michael taking over. And then even those beautiful scenes over in Italy with Apollonia learning to drive the car and him romancing her old school way. Just beautifully done all the way through with that wonderful score. I can't say enough about The Godfather. It's my favorite movie of all time.
Excellent.
I thought Brian had an ejector seat there for a second.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought,
No, I had 9. You're pretty predictable there, Rich. Once we
I
got
know I
down,
am.
once we got down to the 10, It's a Wonderful Life was the only one I didn't have in your top 10.
I had 7.
Pretty good.
Not bad. What do you think, Doc?
I
Had him pretty well
I
picked.
started writing a list for you, Rich, at the beginning because I thought, okay, I'll try Rich's first. And I thought, I got through 5 and I thought, oh, forget it. I'll never get through it. But the 5 I wrote down, you had. So it was just like that.
Yeah, I'm predictable. Well, we talk about these movies so many times. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. So
Classic. It's a great list, Rich.
Solid
You can
list.
put that list at any time, man.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, let's finish it up here. All right, number 10 for me, I've got To Kill a Mockingbird from 1962, Robert Mulligan, starring Gregory Peck and Mary Badham and Brock Peters. Also, Duvall playing a Boo Radley in this as well. Summary, of course, is just based on Harper Lee's novel about young Scout and her father, who's a lawyer, Atticus Fish, as he defends a black man, Tom Peterson, who's falsely accused of raping a white woman in the segregated South, and despite overwhelming evidence, is actually convicted. This movie is obviously praised for its powerful messaging and about racism and injustice, and I think they do one of the greatest translation from novel to film that I think ever. My grandson, who was just born recently, his middle name is Atticus. That's how much my daughter loves this, loves the book and the movie. So number 9, I've got from 1941, Citizen Kane, Orson Welles and Joseph Cotton and Dorothy Kumengore. I know that I had to spend a whole semester. We had a whole film class based just on dissecting this film, how it was put together with the dissolves and wipes and how everything is constructed. And I think it has the ultimate, when you start talking about, the what is that? I'm trying now. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here, but it's like the thing that pushes the story forward. I forget what the film term is, but this tells the story of Charles Foster Kane, a wealthy newspaper magnate who, through a series of flashbacks, a reporter investigates the meaning of his last words, which is Rosebud. This is often cited as the greatest film ever made. It's lauded for its innovative, narrative structures and deep focus on cinematography, groundbreaking use of sound. Wells's directorial debut revolutionized the art of filmmaking, and it really was, one of those things where you really had to pay attention to all the things that were going on, and it's just fantastic. Number 8 for me, I've got Taxi Driver here at from 1976, and Scorsese, Robert De Niro and Jodie Foster, Sybil Shepherd, Harvey Keitel as the pimp is fantastic in it. I love the grittiness of this movie and the down and dirty feeling of everything. As you follow Travis Bickle, this mentally unstable Vietnam veteran who works as a taxi driver in New York City at night, and he becomes, increasingly alienated, obsessed with just like cleaning up the city through these violent actions. There's various happenings throughout the film where you basically are shown that, Travis's character is absolutely mentally insane and psychologically, unstable. It's just a landmark film, and it's wonderful, and had to make my top 10. Number 7 for me, I've got The Last Emperor from 1987, Leonardo Bertolucci's film. starring John Lone and Joan Chen, and also Peter O'Toole. This I had to have the soft spot for biographical type films, and this film chronicles the life of Puyi, the last emperor of China, from his ascent to the throne as a child and eventual imprisonment and re-education as a common gardener after the communist revolution. China was going through various types of governments during those stages. The Last Emperor is visually stunning epic film that won 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. And it was the first Western film to be granted permission to film in the Forbidden City. Its grand scale and scope is made it one of the most significant historical dramas ever. Number 6 for me, I've got The Godfather Part 2 here. Everybody's kind of touched upon it at various stages here. Rarely is a sequel, almost as good as the first. This comes really dangerously close to being so. Obviously starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro playing the young Vito Corleone, also Diane Keaton. But this one serves as a sequel and prequel to the movie because it follows Michael's ascent as he attempts to consolidate his power in the Corleone family, juxtaposed to the rise of power by his father, Vito Corleone. So it's a nice little mixture of back and forth that makes us, furtherly fall in love with the family in a lot of ways, despite the business that they're in, which is, one of violence. It's one of the few, they cited as one of the few sequels that is equal or better. I've said that before. Won 6 Academy Awards, Best Picture and Best Director. The film's complex narrative structure and deep exploitation of power, corruption, and family have made it a American cinema masterpiece. Number 5, I've got Blade Runner from 1982, Ridley Scott. A lot of people run hot and cold on this one for some reason. I think it is a landmark sci-fi film starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young. Edward James Olmos has a very small role in it. It's set in this dystopian future that follows Rick Deckard, which is played by Ford, as a Blade Runner, tasked with hunting down replicants, bioengineered beings who have escaped Earth. Those beings are seeking their original creator for asking for an extended life. Blade Runner is widely regarded as a seminal work of science fiction, influencing multiple genres and thematic depth. It's also scored by Vangelis, and it has the wonderful and iconic "Tears in the Rain" soliloquy, which does not appear in the actual novel itself that it's based on. It was something that Rutger Hauer kind of made up himself, and it's been just an iconic piece from there. Number 4 for me, I have got Pulp Fiction is at number 4, 1994. Rich already touched upon it. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis, and just an absolute super all-star cast. Its film is interweaves several crime stories set in Los Angeles, told in non-linear fashion, out of chronological order, and includes a hitman's philosophical musings and a boxer's escape from crime, and couples attempt at a robbery, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, which is just I think they're hilarious, in a lot of ways. And to see Amanda Plummer, some of the language that comes out of her mouth, it's just really different to see her in that type of role. It's credited with revolutionizing independent cinema, especially in the 90s. I think it won at the Palme d'Or at Cannes Festival Award, and then it was I think it won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, but it lost to Forrest Gump and just about everything else, it seemed, which is a real shame because I think that the test of time have kind of willed out there. Number 3, I've got Schindler's List here from Steven Spielberg, starring Liam Neeson, Ben Kingsley, and Ralph Fiennes, based on some true events. The film tells the story of Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who saved thousands of Polish Jews during the Holocaust by employing them in his factory. It was filmed in black and white, except for a splash of color. Little girl's red coat, which is used as a powerful effect, and using several scenes in the film. It's one of the most powerful and harrowing films about the Holocaust. Spielberg's direction, combined with stark black and white cinematography, has made it a defining work. It won 7 Academy Awards, Best Picture and Best Director, and considered one of the best films ever made. I think Ray Fiennes' portrayal of Amon Goth is just scary. I mean, there's reasons why I think he's listed in the top 20 scariest villains of all time. And I know there were several real life survivors of the Holocaust that were actually on set. And when they saw Ray Fiennes, in his uniform, a lot of them just, like they said, they were frozen from fear. That's how close he embodied the character. Number 2, Randy, you and I had an exact match here. North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock, 1959. My favorite Hitchcock film, my favorite Cary Grant film, along with Eva Marie Saint and James Mason in it. Case of Mistaken Identity sends advertising exec Roger Thornhill on a run from the police and a spy ring, leading him across country and filled with suspense and intrigue. Everybody's touched upon the Mount Rushmore scenes, and the airplane scene out in the open fields is just an iconic scene there that I think is just wonderful. The crop dusting thing and everything. Really just, my absolute favorite. And I just kind of fell in love with Cary Grant's combination of charm and quick wit and snarky comments. Became like kind of that bar that I was always set for me when all the movies that I watch is like, how close was he to being the Cary Grant that I love in North by Northwest? And no one ever came really close to that. So, but number 1, Rich's number 1 was The Godfather. My number 1 will be The Godfather from 1972. Brando, Pacino, Caan, Duvall, just an all-star stellar cast. I think every time that I make lists of my favorite movies, it's just favorite movies, and then there's favorite film, because I've taken so many film classes and studied film. This is like the living example that you can be on both lists, and it's number 1 on both lists for me. I think it's one of the best films ever made, and the way that it was constructed, the cinematography, everything that goes into it, the script, and then just a movie for entertainment. It's number 1 on that list too. So it won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it kind of redefined the whole gangster genre in a lot of ways. I think I'm not sure exactly who touched on it, but the wedding scene is so important, I think, because for some reason when coming out of the wedding scene, for some reason you really were rooting for this family, even after you start slowly understanding what business they're actually in, and it's not the olive oil business. You really do. You fall in love with this family, and you really do want the best for them, even though there's something in the back of your mind that knows this is all going to fall apart somehow, some way. It's going to fall apart. But Godfather's just number 1, guys. It's number 1.
Excellent.
Sure it is. When you got to number 4, I was going to say something, Brian. When you got to number 4, I was going to say, and you started there because you were about to do Pulp Fiction. I was going to say, oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
No, that's great. But
great list, buddy.
Yeah, which ones were you kind of stumped on, Rich? Probably Last Emperor you probably didn't have.
I did not have. I should have had Citizen Kane, but I didn't. I did have Blade Runner because I've heard you speak of it. I did not have Schindler's List or Taxi Driver for some reason. I did not have. I didn't think it would be considered a favorite, although I know it's a great movie. But yeah, good job. Every film there is great. Every one of them.
Fantastic.
I wish I would have had Citizen Kane. That would be the one, to answer your initial question, that would probably be the one, but I kept going and I said, no, I like these films better. And it sort of got squeezed out, but technically it's as good a movie as you can make. There's angles, the lighting, everything about all the construction of the film. If you watch a documentary on it sometime, it's unbelievable.
It is.
He was the first to do a lot of stuff, Orson Welles. And people don't realize that, the younger people anyway. If you go back and watch the documentary and how that film was made and the different angles and the lighting that he used and from the floor up and stuff, it's just an amazing film.
Yeah, totally. Who else had Citizen Kane? Just Randy? Randy, were you the only other one?
I think so.
Yeah. Wow. I'll be curious once this all pans out and you break down the numbers for us, Rich. I'll be really kind of curious how this all kind of pans out a little bit.
I think Randy was the only one that had Casablanca, and that's considered, one of the all-time greats too. I've never gone back to it. I've seen it. I liked it, but it's not one that I revisit for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I had just seen it for the first time probably 2 years ago, ever. I had never watched it. So I've only seen it one time.
Wow.
And I thought it was just okay. I
liked it. I love Bogart too and Ingrid Bergman, but for some reason it hasn't hooked me as like a film that's in my blood,
Right.
Well, I just want to say one more tidbit. The Quiet Man that Randy had at number 1, that would happen to be my father's favorite movie of all time too. Quiet Man.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah.
It'd be up on my dad's list too, for sure.
Yeah. True. All right. Well, thanks everyone for sticking with us all the way as we counted down from 100 down to number 1. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, sub, and comment down below. Look for more material in the future from us. I think we're going to be starting a series of top 10 songs of various different types of categories and using of words and things like that we're going to start next week. So to kind of switch back over to music for a while, take a break from movies. But we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Take care, everyone, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.